Hey guys, project-zodiac here. I'm back with another video, and this is one I'm so excited to talk about because this is another Tron movie review. So let's get into it. So this particular review is going to be for the newest movie, Tron Ares. I saw this movie a couple of times, and it's one that I've been waiting 15 years for. So I'm so glad that it's finally here. Now, the thing is, was it worth the wait? Was it worth 15 years of waiting for this movie to come out? If you aren't aware, this movie was supposed to come out around 2016, 17. There's been a lot of delays with it. It started going into production originally around 2011, 2012. I made basically a big documentary, an hour-long documentary explaining the production of Tron Ares, so please watch that. Now, that's the thing. 15 years I've been waiting for this movie. Is it worth it? Was it worth the wait? So this video is going to be very long. I'm going to talk spoiler-free stuff. There's going to be chapters in the description, so you can jump to your sections. And at the same time, I'll be doing a spoiler section addressing most of my criticisms and my praises and things that I can't say in it. So just keep that in mind. So right now, let's go straight into the spoiler-free section. And for those of you that just wants my quick general thoughts, I loved the movie a lot. Short version is that yes, this movie was worth the wait. There are some things I wish they would have done a little bit differently, but I really liked this movie. The 3D for it was amazing. The music was amazing. It was amazing. So that's basically the short version of it. I have, the Tron Legacy album here, the Tron Ares album here, and the Tron original movie in 4K. So of the three movies, where would I put Tron Ares? I would say very close to Tron Legacy. Very close. So yeah, I really recommend you go see this movie. So those are my quick general thoughts for those of you that don't want a more in-depth review on it. I really recommend you see this movie. The critics are bashing it for no reason. But now, to go into the spoiler-free, in-depth thoughts, what is it that I really liked about this movie? First of all, the acting for everyone was really good. For Jared Leto, lots of people complain about his acting. I don't have any issues with his acting, but his acting in this movie was really good. And I love how you see Ares' progression from being just a program that's designed to do his function to coming to his own sentience, and how his performance changes. And it starts a little subtle, and it grows and grows, and you get this whole big change for him. And I really like that. That was a subtle acting change throughout the movie, which I don't see anyone really talking about. That was done really well. The actress for Eve did a really good job. The actor for Julian Dillinger did a really good job. Literally all of the actors did a good job. And some of the supporting characters, like Seth, when I saw the actor, I thought that he was going to be an annoying character, but I loved the character. The character was amazing. So I really think they put a lot of care in the characters because I thought they were done really well. In terms of visuals, this movie is amazing with the visuals. It's really kind of hard to tell when something is a little bit CGI in some parts because they really put a lot of care in making the CGI look really good. And that's something that people praise Disney when it comes to like the Marvel movies. And honestly, for me, the CGI in the Marvel movies are always pretty noticeable, especially recently. But even back then, a lot of the CGI was pretty noticeable. The CGI in this movie, I would say, is a bit similar to how Avatar handles it. Obviously not in that scale, but it's in the realistic department. So I thought that was done really well because it looked so good. Also, the light cycles are practically built this time, so that was really cool to see it function in a realistic way as well. And seeing the recognizer itself towards the end of the movie in the real world, I thought that was really, really cool. So yeah, the visuals was amazing. And then when we're on the grid, I loved the way that the visuals for that was handled as well, because it just looked so cool. I really, really loved that. As you see from the trailers, again, this is the spoiler free section, but in the trailers they show it, so it's okay for me to mention it. We do go to 3 grids in this movie, which honestly I was surprised about, because I knew that this would be a digital world coming into the real world movie. Um, so I was surprised that we went to different grids as well. But yeah, the we go to the Dillinger grid, which is all red, and it looks a lot more industrial, a lot more factory driven, compared to the previous grids we've seen. And then we also get to see the new Encom grid, which looks really cool. And then we also get to see the old 80s grid, which looks really cool. And I love how they put the effects on that. So it made you feel like you're watching the 80s movie in the way that it was done. So I loved that a lot. When he's on the 80s grid, I thought that was really special and really, really cool. Now, so yeah, the visuals in all of these grids is amazing. It just really feels like the aesthetic that was created from Tron Legacy, and does a couple of things a little bit differently. Like in the trailer, you see the Encom grid is during daytime now. That's not something we've seen before. And I love that. I loved seeing some of the trees, some of the nature there, which we hadn't seen before. So yeah, they really went all out with the visuals here, because it just looked amazing when you were seeing all of that. Now, in terms of the things that I really liked that we hadn't seen before, as I mentioned, such as the tree, is that they show us how this world is as programs. Like, you see them hacking into servers, you see them accessing information, you see how the programs see things in their world, and even in how they see things in the real world, which is really cool. We get to see them, accessing systems. You get to see how they communicate in real time. So it's like you're typing on something and a program is sending you the information. So think about when you're downloading something on Google Drive. You clicked on download, it executes the action, and then Google Drive, or not Google Drive, sorry, Google Chrome will then tell you download complete. It's kind of like that in between moment of it downloading. So like you kind of see that happening, and I thought that was so cool. We also get a lot of lore explanations, a lot of lore expansion, things that we hadn't seen before. We got a lot of information as well, about like how certain things work in this world, and I really, really like that. I'll talk a little bit more about that in my spoiler section. So I thought that was really, really, really cool, because they really just expand on the lore so much, and I loved it. I also loved the fact that they talked a lot about, all of these references in this movie during the interviews. And then when you see this movie, if you're a fan of Tron, you see so many little references and Easter eggs and callbacks, and it's just so cool. And a part of those things is what builds up the lore even more, and it's things that a lot of people haven't really noticed or been talking too much about, which I'll talk about in my spoiler section. So I really, really, really love that a lot, that there's just so much Easter eggs here. I mean, there was, I think, even an Easter egg for Tron Evolution. There was this press conference scene talking about a new video game that Uncom is releasing for Space Paranoids, and a lot of people wearing like Tron costumes, or program costumes, which is, in universe canon that there's a video game about Tron. So it was pretty cool to see that. I think the villain from Tron Evolution, the PS3, Xbox 360 video game, someone's wearing a costume of that villain. So I thought that was really really cool. It was just like a quick section of it. Like you if you blinked you missed it, but it's there. And there's so many little callbacks and so many Easter eggs like that throughout this movie, and it really shows that they really really cared about showing heart to the series as a whole. Of course, I do wish they did that a little bit more with one thing in particular, which is the arc grid. I'll talk about that a little bit later. I think that that's okay for it to be in the spoiler-free section because it's not really a spoiler or anything. But yeah, I thought that that was amazing. The programs being in the real world, I thought that that was amazing. Honestly, we spent a really good balanced amount of time in the real world and in the grid. I thought there would be more real world scenes than grid scenes, but we actually do get to spend a decent amount of time in the grid. We don't get to see too much, which is something I wish that we would have been able to see, because it's mostly on Ares' ship thing. And then just driving around the old grid, and then just this big platform on the NCOM grid. So we don't get to see too many things in the grid, but we do get to spend a lot more time in the grid than I thought we would, and I was surprised by that. I thought it was really well balanced. I also really like how this movie does address a lot of things from the previous movies, and it builds up on the lore that was established in the previous two movies. So obviously the biggest thing here is what happened to Sam and Cora. Well, they kind of address that, but not too much. Again, that's something that I'll talk a little bit more towards the end of this section, but at least they addressed it. So I'm happy for that it was addressed. I'm happy that they kind of build up on certain things from Legacy to kind of flesh it out, which I'll talk a little bit more about that in my spoiler section. And this really builds up on everything that was established in even the original movie with the particle laser, how that functions and how that works. That was really interesting to see. And the fact that you have these two companies as well, so it touches on that as well, that you have the Dillinger Systems and you have NCOM, and both of them are kind of racing to get this particular thing that Ares is tasked to get, which they call as well, actually I don't remember if all of the trailers say this particular thing, so I'm not going to mention it here. I will talk about it in my spoiler section. But it does a really good job at putting these two companies against each other using the AI, the programs, all of that. I thought that that was amazing. And at the same time, the fact that they're both looking for the same thing because they find the limitations of their what they're trying to achieve, so they're trying to fix these limitations. And I thought that that was pretty interesting, especially in how it's done, because it all comes down to like them knowing that they're both looking for this thing due to hacking each other, or, well, mostly Dillinger Systems hacking NCOM. But I thought it was really, really well done in the corporate side of things, because at the same time, it felt like a corporate versus corporate movie, but it also didn't. It felt like a Tron movie where the two big companies that host the servers for these programs are now a little bit more involved in the story than they were in the past. Think about Tron 1. It's a little bit more like that, just a little bit more involved than how NCOM was involved in Tron 1. So I thought that that was really interesting. I thought it was well balanced with the corporate politics versus the grid stuff versus the character journey stuff. So there's like three things going on in this movie, but I thought they were all really evenly balanced. And I thought overall it was pretty cool. Now, going back to the visuals, again, I really, really like the visuals a lot, and especially in the way that everything is positioned. Like there's just so many breathtaking visuals in the grid and out. And a lot of those visuals and a lot of those moments was actually pretty tense. Now, this movie is just tense. The visuals make it tense as well. So you got the programs de-resing the real world. The visuals for that is painful. It's scary. It's sad. You got the destruction in the real world, and that's the visuals for that was amazing, and it made the scenes tense as well. So I thought that was really, really good. I also really thought that overall the way that the movie is paced, right? So it's just so fast paced, and it's just action, action, action. And this is something that's a little bit different. So if you like slow driven stories and movies focusing on visuals, you'll definitely like the first Tron more. If you like something that's a little bit more character driven with visuals and a little bit of action, you'll definitely like Tron Legacy more because it's more character driven. This one is more action driven. So if you like more action driven visual styled movies, this movie is probably going to be a little bit more for you. So this movie is just so fast paced because it's mostly just action. And again, it blends that action to the three main concepts of the plot of this movie. So it's just super fast paced. And it starts right away, right when the movie begins, it's just action and it just goes. And the visuals for that was amazing. And seeing this movie in 3D as well, this was literally one of the best 3D experiences I've ever seen. Now, when I saw this movie a couple of times, I saw it 2 times because I've been very busy. So I haven't been able to get to see it as many times as I wanted to, which was about 4 or 5 times in the theaters. But both times I saw it was in 3D. And one time was in IMAX 3D. So for that one, it was a event that I went to see with some friends of mine. Not detailing that played Tron Legacy first in IMAX 3D, and then they played Tron Ares in IMAX 3D. And the 3D for Tron Legacy, it's more focused on the subtle details, not too much on the people, and it's not really very in-depth 3D at all. Like you almost barely notice the 3D when it's in the real world or when it's really on people. The 3D really is a focus for the sets, the props, and everything like that. So it's a little bit different than how Avatar took 3D, but it still is amazing 3D. And definitely one of the best 3Ds there is. But Tron Ares, what it does is turns everything into 3D. And I mean everything. When a program gets de-resed, you see the individual like cubes in 3D. When Ares is accessing databases, you see all of these like different windows, and everything has different layers, and he's in 3D as well. Like it's just so well done. Like I was blown away by the 3D in this movie. I definitely think that this is just as good as Avatar's 3D because it really is spectacular. Like I hope that we get a 3D Blu-ray with the 4K for it, or at least a 3D digital release, so I can watch it on my Meta Quest 3 because this is a movie that you have to see in 3D. I did want to see it in 4DX because this is also a movie that is perfect for 4DX, but I unfortunately didn't have time to go see that. It's no longer in a couple of the 4DX theaters near me, so couldn't see it in 4DX. But yes, it is a very fast-paced movie. And now I guess the last few things I can talk about before I go into my negatives is the music. The music for this movie is amazing. I did unbox there we go. I did unbox the vinyl record for the Tron Ares soundtrack. So if you haven't watched that, please watch it. And in that video, I say that I only heard about 5 songs. I wanted to leave the experience for hearing them in the movie itself because that's where it's going to be most effective. And I'm really glad I did that because the soundtrack is amazing, and I love it a lot. It's not as good as Daft Punk's soundtrack, but it is um, in the same atmosphere, just a little bit darker and a little bit more grungy, industrial, but still the same overall atmosphere. So I really, really like that a lot. And there's so many scenes where the music is so breathtaking here. One of my favorites is when they're on this boat on a grid and they're running, and it's just this atmospheric song, and it fits even though it's a chase scene. It's a little bit slower pace, but the vocals, the melody, the instrumentation with it is just so good. So I love it. And I've been listening to the soundtrack as I'm driving because, like the Legacy soundtrack, it's perfect music for when you're driving as well or just doing some things. It's amazing. So the soundtrack is really good. However, I have noticed that a couple of the songs that was in the movie didn't make it into the vinyl record. So I don't know if I know that that's something that happened with the Legacy movie as well, but I didn't ever actually notice it in the movie comparing to listening to it. So I don't know why I never noticed that one, but for this one, I definitely noticed it. A very big example is when Ares is in visiting the 80s grid. Now, when he's in the 80s grid, I was surprised that they actually played music that sounds like it's from the original movie, but that's not in the record itself. So I don't know if that was music that they just took from the original movie and put it there, or if it was a rework. Now, one complaint about the music itself is hearing the album itself, right? When we hear the album itself, it is really cool. It is very good, but the problem I have with it is that a lot of the music, they're just reworks of like 5 songs. So, for example, As Alive as You Need Me to Be, there's like 4 different reworks of it in the vinyl. So I thought that that was a little bit annoying. There's like one that's just basically an instrumental without the lyrics or the vocals. Another one's slightly reworked, done a little bit different. A couple of things like that. So, and it's not just that song. There's various different songs that they reworked for it. So when you hear the album as it is, it kind of does feel a little bit repetitive because a lot of the songs are reworked. But when you see it and hear it in the movie, it is so good and it fits the scenes perfectly. Now, one of the things that I wanted to also say before I go into the things that I didn't like is overall what it is that I think in how this handled the movie or the Legacy. I think it handled it really good. It definitely does set up a fourth Tron movie, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But I just think they could have done a couple of things a little bit differently. And now that's where we get into my complaints. So one of the biggest complaints is that I really need them and really want them to address a couple of things which I talked about in various videos related to Tron. What happened to Sam and Cora? What happens with the Flynn Lives movement? What happens with Kevin and Tron? What happens with the arc grid? Like, when did Kevin transfer ISOs to the arc grid? For those of you that don't know, the arc grid is a new grid that, or not a new grid, but another grid that Kevin had created when the ISOs had appeared to transfer them over to them, and he was able to transfer some to them. It's in the video game, Tron Identity and Tron Catalyst, and these 2 games, they are canon. So, and they take place in the arc grid. So I wanted to know more about that. When did Kevin actually transfer them there? And then also I wanted to know what happened to Beck from Tron Uprising. So those things are things that I feel like needs to be addressed. And it feels like they are planning to address them, but in Tron 4. So that's not too much of a complaint because they still did address a couple of things. Like I said, they addressed a little bit about Sam and Cora, just a little bit. They did address a little bit about Kevin, and somebody did mention that they in the movie talk about the arc grid, or it's quickly mentioned, but I don't remember that. So that's why I want to see it a couple more times, because there was a couple of things that, like I said, the references are so quick, and they're done in a natural way, so that you really just got to pay attention to it. So I personally don't really know if they did mention the arc grid. I don't think that they did. Not verbally, at least they didn't, but maybe in the background thing. But yeah, maybe they did and I just missed it. But as far as I know, they didn't. So we still got to have that answered. People complain that there's no Tron in this movie. That's true. Tron himself isn't in this movie, but the concept of Tron is, and that's something a lot of people miss. So they kind of address some of the bigger things, but they built up a lot of lore, and they also showed us a lot of things that we had questions to, which again I'll talk about in my spoiler section. So I just really wanted them to address these things a little bit more. Now, especially because I'm actually really worried that we might not be getting a Tron 4, at least not for a long time. Or maybe it won't be for theaters, maybe it will just be for streaming. Because unfortunately, this movie is not doing too good in theaters, which I'm going to go into a whole rant at the end of this video review. So don't worry, I'm not going to be talking about that now. But there is hope. Once it goes for streaming, it might boost it a lot. And honestly, the critics for this movie has been extremely harsh on this movie. Lots of people love this movie when they actually watch it. But again, I'll talk more about that at the very end of the video. So when I first saw the movie, me and my friends all had the same thoughts. We all really loved the movie. We think it's very good, just not as good as Legacy because we're really invested in Sam and Cora. So not having them here, it was interesting, but Ares himself was really cool. Eve was really cool. And we just kind of had the same thoughts for that. Now, seeing the movie a second time, I actually enjoyed it even more because now I knew more or less how the movie was going to be going. So I was able to focus more on the references, the Easter eggs and all of that, and the subtle details of the narrative, of the lore expansion that is throughout the movie. So I thought that was really cool. It is definitely a movie that you should see at least 2 or 3 times because there's so much happening in the background without making you feel like it's overstuffed. But yeah, continuing with the complaints, those really were just my biggest ones, honestly. I'm just thinking about it. Really, those are my biggest complaints, that I wish they addressed those things a little bit more. For those of you that are wondering if Sam or Cora does have a cameo, or if they do appear in the movie, they don't. They have pictures of them, and they do talk about them, explaining a couple of things, but them physically, they're not in the movie. So that's a bit upsetting. And there is a post-credit scene as well, which kind of hypes up a big thing. So this movie, instead of answering a lot of the questions that we had, one of my complaints is that they kind of just give little nitpicks of an answer and then sets up even more questions about so many other things, which hopefully will get addressed in Tron 4, and just hopefully it does not take 15 years or 30 years for Tron 4 to be made. So really, those were just my big complaints, other than also it feeling a little bit rushed, because again, it's very fast-paced. Now, watching it the second time, because I already understood that it is a fast-paced movie, I was used to it, and I do think the pacing is better when you understand that it's a very fast-paced movie. And I just think that it didn't need to be only 2 hours. I feel like they could have had a little bit more time to give a little bit more character moments, which I do think was missing in this movie. Because the biggest character moments really is Julian, Ares, Athena, and Eve. Those four have a lot of character moments, and I thought they were done good, but because there's a lot more supporting characters in this movie compared to the previous movies, I do wish we got a little bit more time with them. But given the time frame of what happens in the movie and the information of what happens in the movie, it makes sense why this movie is so fast paced. So the movie works with its own storytelling as well, so it doesn't feel like it's fast paced and is being forced to be fast paced. It feels like it's natural. Now, that leads into my last actual complaint. And this movie basically hyped up, right, the whole grid, the digital world coming into the real world. So I was thinking that it would kind of be like a invasion movie. And it kind of is, but it's not really. And I don't want to go too in detail with that until the spoiler section, but I'll just say this. The invasion itself is it's shocking. It's really impressive. And it was pretty tense. But it was so much smaller scale than I thought it was going to be based off of just the trailers. So I wished that they did a bigger invasion into the real world because it was amazing and it worked so good. And it's also, sorry, a little sidetrack. It's because I was just picturing the concept art. It's just so cool that a lot of the things that they did for Tron Ascension actually did come into Tron Ares. So I love that a lot. A lot of the concept art from 15 years ago made its way into this movie as a final footage. So I really like that. That includes a lot of the real world scenes and a lot of the scenarios that happen. But yeah, going towards the big invasion part, I wish there was more to it. But when you pause and realize the reason for this invasion to begin with, the smaller scale invasion actually makes sense. So I can't even be too mad about it, that it's not as in-depth or as wide as I wanted it to be. And that's why it's important to see this movie a couple of different times, because you go in with certain thoughts of how you want the movie to be based off of the trailers and your own wishes and wants for the movie. And then it does those things, but a little bit different. So you're kind of just like, okay, I need to adjust to that. It worked. I just need to process it. Let me see it again. Then you see it again and you're like, yeah, it works really well. So I'm glad that they did it in this way because it makes sense why they did it this way. So I thought that was really cool. But really, those were my only complaints about this movie. I thought it was amazing. Yeah, don't listen to the critics for this because they're bashing this movie. This movie is really, really amazing and really, really fun. But that is it for my in-depth spoiler-free section. Right now, I will be going into my spoiler section. But before I do that, I just wanted to give my friends quick reviews, and also just and explain a couple of other things as well very quickly, which is my friends' reviews are same as mine. They all really liked it. One of my friends, my cousin, who I call my cousin, basically said that he wanted this movie to feature a lot more Semenkora, but he has no idea why it's getting the hate it is. My other friend, he's new to Tron, so he hasn't been waiting 15 years for this movie. But he liked it. He was just a little bit more hesitant with it a little bit more because he also wanted to know a little bit more what happened with Sam and Cora, and just because he felt that it was a little bit too action focused. His brother, who also went with us, who's also my friend, he really liked it. He still prefers Legacy as well, though. So those were their quick reactions. Now, I also wanted to share something a little bit more special. my wife's reaction. So she's never seen the Tron series. She knows I love the movies and the series, but she never seen them before. So she saw the trailer for Tron Ares and she was very excited to see it as well, especially because of how much I've been hyping the movie. So to go watch it, I watched with her Tron 1 and Tron Legacy. So her thoughts on the Tron series very quickly is Tron 1. She thought it was a very interesting concept. She really liked it. She thought that the visuals was really cool, but she felt that it was like a Saturday morning cartoon with no plot. And she thought that it was too confusing as to what exactly was happening in the plot or what the plot itself was. I thought that that was a very interesting reaction. So she gives Tron 1 about a 3 out of 10 just because she felt it was too complicated and not enough explanation of what the plot's point actually is, and that it's all just a lot of different things. For Tron Legacy, she loved it. She gave that one an 8 out of 10. She thought it was tense. She thought it was emotional. She loved the music for it. She was actually really, really invested in Tron Legacy. So she loved it. But when we went to go watch Tron Ares, this was actually surprising for me. She loved Tron Ares more than Tron Legacy. Her favorite out of all three is Tron Ares. She felt the movie was very tense. She thought that the movie was very, very creative, very action driven. She felt that it was more dark. And that it was more scary, especially because now it's in the real world. So there's one particular scene where that happens as well, where something in the real world happens, and I was shocked to see that as well. So she was just really captivated the moment that this movie started. So she really, really liked it a lot. And in terms of the only thing that so even though she likes Ares more than Legacy, she still gives Ares about an 8 out of 10. But interestingly, she prefers the music from Legacy over the music from Ares. So I thought that that was interesting overall. Now, going into the spoiler section of this review, there's not too much else I have to say about it that I didn't mention already. That is basically that, right. We do get mentions of Sam and Cora. It looks like Sam leaves for personal reasons, and it looks like Cora might be the personal reason. Like, some people online theorize that she got sick because there is a picture of her in the modern time, and Ares goes looking for them at the end of the movie. So I thought that was really interesting that he goes looking for them, and that's where it kind of ends. I do wish, though, they explained a little bit more because you can tell that Ares knows about Cora and nobody else does. You can tell that people basically knew Cora existed because you see newspaper articles like who is this mystery woman and all that stuff. But nobody really knows who Cora is, and you can tell that because people don't know that the programs are sentient as well. So I thought that that was really interesting. So some people think that Cora is sick, and that's why Sam left as the CEO of Encom. We will have to see. Now, in terms of Kevin, I wish that they addressed Kevin a little bit more because it's not really clear what Kevin is in this movie. Is he Clue? It doesn't seem like he's another Clue. It seems like he's actually Kevin based off of the dialogue that he has with Ares and everything that he says. So he's definitely not another Clue. It's definitely Kevin's spirit. Like maybe his spirit haunts the server. He's literally like a ghost in the machine, which is kind of fitting overall. That theology and understanding of that particular saying fits Kevin. But he just basically says, "I'm here because you're here." Uh, but it's like, okay, did Sam back you up in here and you're just like there as a fragment? What I really liked is how Kevin appears, because he looks like a ghost. He's somewhat transparent, somewhat physical. So he's kind of like astral and physical at the same time. His overall design is really cool. So it does make me think that this is Kevin's spirit that Sam just put there just to be safe. So that's something I wish we got a little bit more confirmation on. But yeah, and then what happened was with Tron. Now, this is something that a lot of people kind of miss. Tron himself isn't in this movie, but the essence of Tron is. And the essence of Tron in this movie is Ares. And this is something that I really, really loved, because this is taking lore from, for example, Tron Uprising. In Tron Uprising, Tron recruits Beck because Beck goes against his own programming to do something different. And that's what we see happening here in Tron Ares, where Ares goes against his own programming to do something different. So if you watch Tron Uprising, this is already established in the series. So Beck became Tron in a way. He took the Tron name. Ares didn't take the Tron name, but he basically is Tron, and just like Beck is basically Tron. The essence of Tron is here. So that's what a lot of people miss. So Ares is Tron in this movie, not by name, but by essence and spirit. And what was really cool as well is that we get a lot of more lore information about the ISOs in a way, which is the permanence code. That is what Kevin kept saying that he wanted to give to the world, and that was the permanence code, or not the permanence code, the ISOs, because the ISOs would be able to help the world in various ways. Now, if that's the permanence code that's within the ISOs or not, we don't know. But that's the interesting thing. The ISOs have a triple helix DNA code, and this particular permanence code is within them. That is what allows Cora to live in the real world. And this is something that kind of explains why Clue desperately needed Kevin's disc. It's not because it's a lock. It's not because it's a key to a lock when the portal is open. It's because Clue was created when he knew that the permanence code needed to be something to function, from my understanding. Because Kevin discovered the permanence code in the 80s. He says so in the movie, if I remember correctly. So he had that information. So when he goes and creates Clue, Clue has those memories. But he doesn't have access to it. Only Kevin does. So the fact that Clue is so desperately trying to get Kevin's disc, it's not because it's a lock to the door. It's because it has the permanence code in it. And he needs that to bypass this time frame, this countdown. So I thought that was really interesting, because then it makes sense. That's why Kevin was super surprised with the ISOs, because they have that permanence code within them already. The permanence code is just a double helix DNA strand. The ISO's DNA strand is a triple helix. So that code is embedded into them, and he discovered them. He probably discovered the permanence code right before it. So that's why Clue needed the disc, because even if he goes with his army to the real world and invades it, it would only have been for 29 minutes. So that's why he couldn't just go. And I thought that that's really, really creative. Now, do they straight out say this is why Clue didn't needed Kevin's disc? No, they don't say that. But it is really explained in the visual context of this movie. So I really, really like that a lot. I also really liked that we get to see Kevin's office with arcade machines that Sam set up for him when Sam took over as CEO. And you see a plaque saying dedicated by Sam Flynn. I like that we get to see the fact that when a user goes into the grid, they have the user colors, the white lights, but they expand on that to let you know that if a user dies in the grid, they die. They don't materialize in the real world, kind of like how in the show Code Lyoko was. When in the show Code Lyoko, these people enter the virtual world, they get digitized into it, but when they die in the digital world, they rematerialize in the real world. No, Tron Ares explains that when a user dies in the grid, they are dead. And then they also explain that if a program has a permanence code, they basically become human. Now, this is why it's important to see this movie a couple of times, because when Ares gets a permanence code, he fights Athena, and then he's like all beaten up a bit. His color changes to be a white color, so it implies that he's a user. But at the same time, he starts to bleed on his forehead, and you don't really realize if it's blood or not because it's during night, and there's also like dust and dirt around his face, so it could just have been dirt. But seeing it again a second time, I was really paying attention for that, and I could see that it was blood. So Ares is bleeding, so he's now human. And I thought that was really, really interesting that the permanence code makes programs human. And I just love that. And I love that in a way what Kevin wanted to do with the ISOs was fulfilled by Eve giving Encom the permanence code, and it's been helping a lot of people. I thought that was really nice. Something that what my wife said as we were watching the movie, which was when Julian was trying to control the programs after revealing it to some military people. She said, well, once you discover something and you share with even a few people, it's no longer yours. So what is this guy thinking, and what is he doing? He's being dumb if he thinks that he can't control it. And that's exactly what happens at the end. So when she sees at the end Eve and Encom using the permanence code to help the world, she said, see, they did the right thing. They're using it to help people. It's not just for them anymore or to make money. So she really liked that as well, and it kind of shows what Kevin was planning to do. So I thought that was really interesting. I also think that it's interesting that Ares says that the world is not ready for them to know who he is. And that kind of fits why Cora, most likely people didn't know that she was a program. I thought that was very, very interesting. Now, also very interesting is that people know about the digitizer, the digital laser, but I guess they don't really know that programs are sentient, because when Eve first meets Ares, she's surprised. She knows that they can code something and bring it to the real world as a physical object, but I guess they didn't really realize that the programs are sentient and that when they come, they are like humans. So I thought that was really interesting to see their reactions to it and the cover up that they were doing to, kind of keep that still secret. So I thought that was really impressive. And overall, I just really think they handled this movie so well. There's so many little references to all of the things. Like I said, Tron Uprising, the lore established there, the lore established in the original Tron. It gives more basis and information of the plot events for Tron Legacy, like the motives and all that stuff. It helps explain the importance of the ISOs and them not needing this code. And one thing that Kevin even says is that this code should be the impermanence code. And we can kind of see that because, again, this code is embedded into the ISOs. If Cora is sick, it kind of shows that, the programs or programs with the permanence code, even if they have this code that can, or even ISOs, even if the ISOs have this code embedded into themselves by default, that they can still be afflicted by human things, because once they come over, they become human. So I thought that that was very interesting, because it leads little seeds for us to understand more about the lore, and that's what this movie did beautifully. It really expands on so many things. Like, we even get to see, and this is something I said that we would get back to, when they're hacking in, you get to see the programs actually hacking, how they hack the system, how they handle all of that, how like a squadron of soldiers from NCOM are like the antivirus, trying to take away the attackers, which is the virus, which is the Dillinger system, which is being led by Ares. Like, it's just so cool. It really just builds up on the mythology a lot and really lets us see so many things. And I loved it. And also, about that, you can kind of assume that the NCOM grid that we see, maybe Sam updated or created that grid to have sunlight because of Korra wanting to see the sunrise and the sunlight. This is something many people have been talking about. People theorize that that is the legacy grid, but I don't think so, because that grid was in NCOM servers, not in Flynn's arcade. So I think that that's a different grid that Sam kind of built up. But again, I wish we knew more about that particular grid, because he backed up the grid in his drive. So maybe he used the grid, backed it up, put it in the new on the NCOM servers. We don't really know. I also really like the fact that we do get to see Flynn's arcade. When we saw it, I was just so excited, because I didn't think that we were going to see it. Yes, it's just for 2 quick shots, but it's interesting to note that it looks like Sam never went back to the old arcade grid, because it's even more dusty. There's even more spider webs. So I thought that was really interesting. And I'm sorry if you're hearing background noise. I'm doing this a lot earlier than I normally make my videos. So I really thought that that was very interesting, that Sam didn't go back to the grid. And then it makes you think, so where's the ARC grid being hosted? Because the ARC grid is at risk of being terminated due to, I think, electricity reasons. I don't really know. But there's a cataclysm that's happening in in the ARC grid, where the grid is about to be destroyed, and they're trying to find a way to save it. So, is the ARC grid in the arcade? Because I thought it was. So, if Sam's never been back there, and it's just been running on backup power, why does he not know about it? So, because maybe Kevin didn't really tell Korra that other ISOs survived. There's that too. Just in case she gets kidnapped or something like that, which would make sense why he didn't mention to anyone in Legacy about there being a grid filled with ISOs, that he transferred a bunch over. So I thought that was interesting. But yeah, seeing Flynn's arcade was so cool. Even if it's just from the lab or the office and the outside. So just those 2 shots, that's all. And I just really like that. I also really, really liked that, the Dillinger system grid is a little bit different. Like, for the identity disk, Kevin's identity disk, this is how it looks like on the inside, but Dillinger's identity disk, the circles, it's kind of like a wiggly thing. So I like that that was different. I like that Ares disk is a triangle, it's different, and that he's a master control program. And I loved the contrast, because in the original Tron, the master control program was talking with Sark as a big head. In this movie, Master Control is just a regular program, and now the user is the big head. So I thought that was really cool in that reflection, in a way. I also really, really like the fact that, as I mentioned about the ending sequences, I wish that the invasion was for bigger reasons, that like they got the code and they were ready to invade into the real world and take it. But that's the thing, that's not what happens. The reason for the invasion is because they want to kill, or they want to digitize Eve in order to get the code from her, in order to then be able to exist and go into the real world. So that was Athena's program, and she didn't go against her program. She kind of went with the program to a extreme, so much so that she is able to go into the real world without Julian sending the input, because he leaves the portal open because he's not aware about that. So I really love that. When his grandfather was at NCOM, he knew about the digitization studies with the digitizer, and I guess he brought that over to Dillinger Systems, and they had been working on that as well. So I guess though he wasn't aware that there's input that stays open unless it's closed. Now the difference is Kevin was running the legacy grid from his arcade that has limited power. The Dillinger Systems is a big corporate with a lot of money and a lot of power, so they're able to keep that server or that program running forever, basically. And that's kind of what happens. He doesn't close it, he just kind of leaves it there, and there's enough energy to keep sustaining it so it stays open. So it's very easy for programs to just go out anytime. They just don't, because they're not programmed to. But Ares does because he overcame his programming, and Athena does because she starts to overcome her programming, but she sticks with it as her goal, her mission, to do what she was programmed to do, just her way. So I really liked seeing that conflict, and even the fact about the sensations. A couple of people I saw online were saying, "Oh, it's dumb that the programs are weak to water." They're not. Um, it's the water is what gave them the sensations, and this is something that I love that this movie does, is that again it shows you things. You have to pay attention as you watch it, because it shows you, not really telling you all the information. Water exists in the digital world, but it's different. We see that in the original Tron movie where they're drinking water and it energizes them. We see that in Legacy as well, where there's water in Kevin's house. So here we see what happens when a user falls into water. When Eve goes to the grid, which was surprising. I didn't think we would see that. She goes into the grid and, they're escaping, and then she falls into water, and you can tell that she feels it different. And then when they're back up in the surface, the water doesn't like slid out. It like becomes cubes and falls out like pixelated. So I thought that that was really interesting overall in how that was done, that it shows that there is these things in the grid, but the sensations for them are different. We can see that in Legacy when Sam is eating. He is confused. You can tell with Sam's reaction that he's confused as how there's food there, and then he eats it and he's like, okay. So there is sensations in the grid, but the sensations is different in the real world. And that's what helps the programs gain autonomy, is the different sensations. So Ares got his own autonomy. It started because of the fact that he felt water. He said it, that it felt different this time. I was able to feel it. I was able to smell it. It's not like it is in their world. Same thing with Athena, because she remembered what Ares said. So when the water started falling on her, she was like, oh, this is different. He was right. It's not that they're weak to it. It's that it's different to them. And we can tell this even more so at the end of Legacy, when Cora is feeling the sunrise's warmth on her face. She has that sensation. That's what makes her realize, oh, this is different. It is a different world. So again, it's little cues like this that I loved in this movie. They really paid attention. They really focused on building these things and explaining and expanding on these things that was established as subtle little things in the previous movies. So I love that. I just really think that this movie did a fantastic job in building all of these things and expanding on all of it. even Ares himself, like I said, you see him change and become like a regular, real person. So I really love that a lot. He overall, I think he was a really good character. And I love at the end that he's wearing human clothes. He's kind of trying to understand about the world, and he's just traveling around the world. And you can tell that he's looking for Sam and Cora. So, because he said so himself, we see that. Um, so I thought that that was really, really cool. And yeah, like I really liked this movie. And I can go on and on rambling about it. Like, I just think it was really, really well made. And right now, I'll be putting B-roll of some of the merch that I bought for Tron Ares. I bought the popcorn bucket from AMC and Regal, and also the cups from them. I think that they're both really, really cool. I didn't need to buy them. I think only one set would have been enough. But I really, really like this movie a lot. And it's just so cool. And I love that they light up too. But yeah, I just think this movie needed to be a little bit longer, focus on the character moments a little bit more, and also address a couple of the things a little bit more. Um, Hopefully, we will see that with Tron 4. Hopefully, they make it soon. Now, the little rant that I kind of want to go on is, and that's basically it for my spoiler talk. I've been talking for an hour now, so there's just so much to say about this movie that I really like. Just these little lore nitpicks, or not nitpicks, just awareness that I really liked, and how they focus on so many things. It was just so cool. But I just wanted to say that the critics are being very hateful on this movie. People complain about this story being weak. It's not weak. It's not a bad story. People are over hating on it. It's a fun movie. It has a really cool story. It doesn't need to be the most complex thing, but it is complex if you watch all of the movies and you see how in detail they go to expand on all the things. It's complex in terms of lore expansion, not in terms of main plot, but of lore expansion. And that's okay. It doesn't need to be the most complicated movie. Honestly, this movie was better than most of the most recent Marvel movies, which make so much money. So I think that people are just hating on this movie for really no reason. Um, Again, my wife's never seen Tron. She watched them just a week ago. And then we watched the new movie, and she loved this one, like a lot. So I thought that that was really cool. So it just shows that people just need to watch this movie and not care about what the critics say. Uh, Again, I'm sorry for the background noise. So I think that overall, the critics are bashing this movie too much. There's no need for how they're bashing this movie. The audience scores a lot better. I'm like on Reddit, I see people on movie subreddits, the Tron subreddit, the Nine Inch Nails subreddit, all of them just saying, hey, I thought this movie was going to be terrible, but it was actually really good. So people really are liking this movie. Just go into it with an open mind, because the critics are bashing it for no reason at all. Now, I hope that we get a new Tron movie. I still hope we learn what happens with Sam Cora. I hope we get more explanation about Kevin. And I hope that we also get a bigger focus on them looking for Tron, and also about the ISOs, and also about the arc grid, and also explaining a little bit more the things that this movie left hanging, kind of like what happened with Julian and him being overtaken by the SARC program, which was the post-credit scene. What's going to happen with Eve? What's NCOM doing now? Like, there's a lot of things that this movie sets up and leaves questions for, that I hope we get answered in the next movie. It's important. At least for me, it is. And one last thing that I I've been talking so much. I'm so sorry, but I don't think I talked about this part in the spoiler section, that it makes sense for why Athena wanted to go. I started going into that direction, then I sidetracked it. So yeah, Athena still wanted to stick to her own coding, but she was gaining autonomy. That's what led her to kill Julian's mom, which I was shocked when that happened. I was like, oh, this definitely just got darker because this is a real person that just died. And we haven't seen that before in a Tron movie, so I thought that was really shocking. I literally like just jumped up when I saw that. I'm like, oh, this just got dark. But that's why the invasion was smaller scale, because they were targeting only Eve. So it makes sense that they weren't trying to go and take over the world like Clue was. So I thought that was really interesting how they set that up. That's why I'm fine with a smaller scale invasion now instead of a big invasion like I thought the movie would do. But overall, like, yeah, this movie is amazing. I love it so much. I want to see it so many more times, especially in 3D. Because the 3D for this movie, just so many little layers, especially when Ares is looking about Eve's life, and then we see all of these little things. It's so good. So please support Tron Ares when it comes out on streaming. Please watch the movie a lot, share it with people, buy it. I think it just got announced that the digital purchase for Tron Ares, not streaming yet, but to buy it digitally, I think it's coming out like December 6th or something like that, towards the middle of December. So I'm excited for that. So buy the movie, stream it when it's on Disney Plus, have people watch it, have them stream it as well. Please help support Tron Ares so that we can get a new Tron series, because this movie was made with a lot of love. It was made with a lot of care, and I really, really hope and pray that they make Tron 4. So thank you for watching this long review. There's just one last thing that I want to say. As you can see behind me, I only have so far the steelbook for Tron, the 4K steelbook for Tron. Right now, it's actually October 31st when I'm recording this review. So happy Halloween, or happy late Halloween. I haven't had a chance to record it earlier. I only had time right now. It's just been very, very busy. But I did say when I released this video, a couple of days or a week or so before releasing this video, that I would be doing a giveaway. Now, I hoped that my Tron Legacy Steelbook would be here so I could do the digital code giveaway for both movies, but Amazon is saying that it's still delayed until December, which honestly sucks. But it's fine. At least that will be like a nice Christmas unboxing and giveaway for all of you. So since that isn't out yet, I'm just going to give away the digital code for Tron in 4K. So whoever sees this first and wants the movie on 4K digitally, if you don't have it, congratulations, you get it. So thank you for watching as a gift for all of you. Unfortunately, only one person can claim this, but here you go. This will be the code. And I'm just letting it focus. Yeah, you should be able to see it now. Okay. So thank you guys for watching. I love this movie. I'm so excited for it to come out on 4K. I really want to buy it on 4K Blu-ray. I really want to just watch it more and more, and I think it's really good. So with all that said, thank you for watching. Rate, comment, subscribe, and I'll talk to you later. Have a good day, everyone.